So as of today, it is the day before Spider-Man Brand New Day comes out, and I wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about my feelings about Avengers Doomsday, because I have some mixed feelings about Doomsday. Brand New Day, no mixed feelings. I know that movie's going to be sick. I think it's going to perform really well. And I'm going to preface this by saying, like, I'm really excited for Doomsday. I have my tickets. Like, I'm sad. And a lot of people who are saying, like, negative things about Doomsday, they're going to be sad too, and I'm going to get to that a little bit later. But I still have some mixed feelings. So, of course, the number one big headliner thing, Robert Downey Jr. is back as Dr. Doom. And I do think that he's going to play a great Dr. Doom. I don't think that he was anybody's first choice. And with that said, it is a little bit of like a jingling the keys in front of your face. Hey, look at this. You know, the guy that played Iron Man is back. And that's certainly a part of it. They made a big spectacle of it during San Diego Comic-Con 2 years ago. And this whole thing. But with that said, Robert Downey Jr. is a great actor, and I think he does have the chops to play Dr. Doom. And as of the recording of this video, we've gotten one of the trailers where he revealed his Doom voice. And his Doom voice sounds great. That's one of actually the few things that, like, I've seen everybody online agree upon, that his Doom voice is great. And also, pre this trailer, anytime there was a supposed leak that came out of Doomsday footage, it always had RDJ doing his normal Tony Stark voice, because that's like all what the AI is used to, because it has hours and hours of him talking as Tony Stark. That was a dead giveaway anytime that it was a fake leak, because, like, obviously he's not gonna sound anything like Tony Stark. And we're finally gonna get our live action Doom with the you know, Eastern European accent. He sounds great. So yeah, there's the whole thing of RDJ jingling the keys in your face. But I think he's gonna play a good Doom, and the design that they have in the MCU for Doom is actually top notch. Like, of all of the popular Doom designs, I think they've taken a lot of cues from different designs, and what we have is, like, really good. And something that I didn't think that they'd be able to pull off is that they have his huge belt buckle. To me, like, I know it's like classic and from the comics and whatever, but it looks a little bit goofy to me sometimes, but they managed to pull it off without it looking too goofy on the rest of the suit. So that's money. The big, like, I guess, elephant in the room why people think Doomsday is going to be garbage is because the lack of buildup is what they're saying. Thanos had, you know, 6+ years of buildup. He had a couple after credit scenes, cameos, and then he had his portion talking to Ronan in Guardians of the Galaxy, which I think his dialogue in that movie actually sucks. I think Thanos had a big dialogue issue in the little bit of dialogue that he ever said like in Guardians. He sounded kind of corny, and then they fixed it in Infinity War to, like, you know, anything that Thanos says is, like, quotable, like, becomes a meme sort of thing. That's besides the point. But Thanos had build-up, and there's that line in Infinity War where Tony's like, Thanos has been in my head for 6 years, and now he's back. That's the whole thing. And the reason I bring that up specifically is because there's a clip going around recently of Kevin Feige saying that people, like, he addresses that people's biggest critique is that Thanos had build-up and Doom had no build-up. And while I understand the point that he's making, I really don't like the way that it came off, because his whole, I'll put the clip in here.
But I will say, I do think, I was just saying to somebody else, that the Thanos buildup has built up in people's heads over the years.
I have to admit
he sat on a chair at the end.
I know. He
pulled the gauntlet out and said, I'll do it myself.
Yep.
And he yelled at Ronan on a video screen briefly.
Sure did.
And that was kind of it.
He's basically, like, discounting the work that went into building up Thanos, and, like, Infinity War and Endgame, particularly Infinity War, are beloved. People love those movies. People love the build-up. Thanos is a phenomenal villain, you know, huge pop culture icon. And he's kind of just being like, meh, like, the build-up didn't have that much to do with that. And I get his point, because Thanos didn't have that much screen time before Infinity War. His longest bit of screen time was like a minute in Guardians of the Galaxy. But his point is that people made the build-up for Thanos in their heads. And he's right, and that's a good thing. Like, that's not that's how it's supposed to work. Infinity War was his big reveal and his big moment of screen time, and until then, people were building it up in their heads to you know, how is he going to be, whatever, and then it comes to fruition in this bundle of Infinity War. That's yes, people did make that up in their heads, and that's good. That's how it should be. So I don't love how he was like discounting that as if it was a bad thing. And also another thing that's important about the Infinity Saga is the Infinity Stones. Like, even if he's saying Thanos didn't have that much screen time, didn't have that much build up, blah blah blah, okay, but we knew that it was all coalescing into the Infinity Stones. The Infinity Stones certainly had build up throughout all the movies, as early as the first Avengers movie, and you know, the Tesseract and all that sort of thing, and then they brought it together, and then they had that whole explanation in Guardians 1, which James Gunn claims that he wrote up in like a minute. But that became the basis for how everything came together, and that came together through Thanos. So if you know anything about the comics or the Time Runs Out, Secret Wars, which these upcoming movies are going to be based on, the next big thing is going to be incursions. Incursions, if you don't know, it's when it's a multiverse thing. It's when the barrier between universes erodes, and then basically the two universes collide with each other. And when they collide, the two Earths collide. If the two Earths collide, both universes are destroyed. If one Earth is destroyed, meaning that the other one survives, that universe survives. So it becomes this big moral dilemma for the heroes of, oh, are we really going to be able to destroy another Earth so that we can save our universe? Because obviously that's killing billions of people. But if we don't, the universe, or both universes die. So which one is worse, having to make a difficult decision, or just letting both of them die? So the only mention of this whole incursions thing that we've had so far is like a couple of lines in Multiverse of Madness, and it's kind of like hinting towards it. It's not like explicitly explained what an incursion is, and I'm sure in Doomsday, Doctor Strange is going to be missing. They're all going to be standing in a room together. He's going to come back with Clea, or like through a hole in space, and then he's going to break down what an incursion is for everybody and explain how horrible it is, and damn, that's going to be your equivalent of his scene in Infinity War where he explains how the Infinity Stones were born. I'm not a fan of how Feige was discounting that the Infinity Stones were the plot device in conjunction with Thanos that made that build up. That build up, even if part of it was in the fans' heads, which was good. That's part of the writing that they put into the movies. Not a fan of the way that he was discounting that. With all that said, I still think that Doom can be an enticing villain, and I'm sure that Doomsday is going to dive into his backstory pretty adequately. The current runtime leaked for Doomsday is like 2 hours 40 minutes, 2 hours 45. I would bet money that Secret Wars is gonna pass the 3 hour mark, maybe like 3:20 or something like that, because a lot of the context that we're gonna need is usually covered in previous movies, and we don't have those previous movies anymore. I think everybody's biggest critique of between Endgame and now, which is 7 years later, is that everything feels really disconnected. Like during the Infinity Saga, you'd have a bunch of movies, and then some movie would come along and start sort of bring everything together, bring the characters together. Ever since Endgame, they've made the mistake of basically spreading themselves too thin. They just put movie after movie after movie, and then, oh my gosh, don't get me started about the TV shows. Just for some context, I have a friend who never really got into the MCU, and they're catching up with the MCU now. And it's such a pain point to have to watch the TV shows too, because like we have jobs and there's only so much time, and not all the TV shows are that great, but like for example, one of the big ones is the way that WandaVision connects to Multiverse of Madness. That would be kind of a confusing movie had you not watched WandaVision. Now, WandaVision is not a bad show. WandaVision, I think, is worth watching. It's good and everything. But you can't expect that of the average person who goes to the movies. Another example is, this movie sucked, Captain America Brave New World. You go to watch Brave New World, and you haven't seen Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and the last time that you remember seeing Sam Wilson with a shield is Endgame, 5-6 years ago, like, there was no transitional period, and that transitional period is in Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I think that it's done well, but you cannot expect the average moviegoer to know that. Kevin Feige made a comment recently about how after Secret Wars is going to be like a kind of a soft reboot, reset for the universe, things are going to be easier to follow, and I really hope that that holds true, because it was really so bad. They just kept making and making and making stuff, and then they had no real plan on how to bring it all together, and then Daniel Destin Cretton kind of, oh, and don't even get me started about how Kang didn't work out I mean, I think Kang could have worked out. I don't think he would have been as strong as of a villain as Doom. I don't really understand how they were planning to do Secret Wars without Doom. He's such an important character in that story. But then, of course, all the controversy with Jonathan Majors happened, and now he's making a movie with, I don't even remember what, but they kind of had to pivot. They used Loki Season 2 as kind of an ender for Kang's storyline. And then also, so there was that kind of last second pivot. And don't get me wrong, I'm happy they pivoted to Doom. I think he's the clear choice, and I think it's going to end up working out for them. I just don't understand why that wasn't the choice in the first place. That's really beyond me. If they were really truly planning to adapt Secret Wars without bringing Doom into the picture, I don't know how it would have been done. So yeah, with all that said, it's been a mess, but I think that it's a potentially recoverable mess. For nostalgia reasons, and because the Russo brothers are on it. And I see a fair bit of like hate towards the Russo brothers, or kind of like jokes online. All of the best Marvel movies are with them behind the helm. Infinity War, Civil War. I think Civil War is their best work. I'll die on that hill. But Infinity War is amazing too. Endgame landed really well. Also, there's that Endgame re-release coming up to make money, and because there's going to be 7 minutes of additional footage. I don't know what that footage is going to be. I don't know how important it's going to be to the story. I think that would be kind of crazy. Could be like an extra scene of Loki visiting Steve or something, but that was in the Doomsday trailer. But regardless, I think they want Endgame fresh in people's minds, because the time travel stuff involved, I think, is going to end up splitting off into some of the stuff that happens in Doomsday. The whole thing with, you know, Doom losing his family in an... So yeah, that was a lot of yammering, but basically, I'm excited. I think it's going to end up being good. I just really wish that the last 7 years of my movie-going and TV watching experience were handled a lot better. And I think with the recent announcements of Ghost Rider and David Johnson as T'Challa's son, all that stuff is gonna, you know, post Secret Wars, I think that they have learned a lesson, and we're hopefully kind of out of the dark ages of the MCU. Feige has said they have plans all the way to 2042. Who knows if it goes that far or whatever, but only time will tell. But till then, Spider-Man's tomorrow. So excited for that. I don't even know how I'm gonna be able to sleep. It's gonna be such a big hit. And then yeah, 4.5